In 1995, 17-year-old Deanna Cremin lived in Somerville, Massachusetts. She attended Somerville High School and was an employee for Star Market. On March 29, Deanna went out with her friends and then visited her boyfriend. By midnight, she was still not home yet, and is worried her family, as her curfew was 10 p.m. Her family was not able to reach her. They then called her boyfriend, as he was the last person to have seen her, most likely. He admitted walking her home that night, but said that he had left her halfway. Deanna's family saw this as unusual, as he had always walked her all the way home. The police were called by her family to inform them that Deanna was missing. The next day, her body was found by a senior housing complex. She was found by two children on their way to school. The senior housing complex is less than a block from her home. An autopsy revealed that she had been assaulted and strangled. Investigators asked anyone with information to come forward. They identified persons of interest, firstly her boyfriend, and also a Somerville firefighter who is more than twice her age and who is said to have been fixated on her, and then another man who was imprisoned at Massachusetts Correctional Institution. Investigators followed leads and was positive the case would be solved, but instead the case went cold. In 2009, District Attorney Gerard Leon said that a case will be solved, but law enforcement needed witnesses who had remained silent to come forward. Deanna Cremin's case made a big impact on the community of Somerville. There were over 1,000 people at her funeral. Trees and benches around the city have been dedicated to her. There is also a scholarship in her name. Still today, investigators are working the case. Her family also put up a billboard each year in hopes that the case can finally be solved and that there will be justice for Deanna. April Dawn Lacy was born on June 2, 1982, in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. Her family was extremely poor and had problems with substance abuse. The family lived in cheap hotels and was often seen looking for aluminum cans to provide money for food and drugs. On October 3, 1996, 14-year-old April ran away after an argument with her parents. They called 911 looking for help in finding April. 5 days later, on October 8, a farmer in Decatur, Texas, found the body of a girl in a pile of branches. Investigators who arrived at the scene believed that she had been strangled and dragged by the arm, judging by the position of her body. It was not possible to identify the victim, as the decomposition process was far along. Investigators noted that she had blonde hair, was around 5 feet 4 inches tall, and weighed 110 pounds. She did not have any identifying features, such as tattoos or scars. A forensic dentist who examined her teeth concluded that she was 14 years old when her life was taken. A forensic artist then made a sketch of what a victim might have looked like, hoping someone would recognize her. Investigators attempted to identify the victim by using her physical description to match the missing persons. As she was found close to the border between Texas and Oklahoma, investigators started with these two states. They soon realized that the victim looked similar to April, and they were around the same age. DNA was eventually compared and a match was made. Investigators have followed leads in Oklahoma and Texas, but they still do not know who took her life. At 9:20 a.m. on November 1, 1980, the body of a Caucasian girl was discovered by a truck driver who was driving past the Sam Houston National Forest. Her body was about 20 feet from Interstate Highway 45 in Walker County, Texas. An autopsy concluded that the victim passed away about 6 hours before being found. She was approximately 5 feet and 6 inches in height and weighed 105 pounds. It was estimated that she was between 14 and 20 years old. Her hair was a light brown, and a medical examiner believed she may have come from a middle-class household due to the excellent dental care she had received. It was determined that the victim had been strangled and assaulted. DNA from an unknown man was collected from her body. Investigators appealed to the public for anyone who might know the victim or might have seen her before her life was taken. Some witnesses informed investigators that they saw a teenage girl matching the victim's description a few hours before she passed away. This included the manager of a South End golf station who told investigators what the victim had been wearing and said that she arrived at a station at 6:30 in the evening, just 15 hours before her body was found. The victim apparently climbed out of a 1974 Chevrolet Caprice and asked for directions to the Texas Department of Corrections Alice Prison Farm. After receiving the directions, the victim left on foot along Sam Houston Avenue. Two other witnesses saw the victim at a Hitch and Post truck stop alongside Interstate 45. There she again requested directions to the Texas Department of Corrections Alice Prison Farm. The statements by the witnesses are believed to be true. Inmates and employees of the Alice Prison Farm were canvassed and shown pictures of the victim, but no one was able to identify her. As investigators were also unable to identify the victim, she was named Walker County Jane Doe. On January 16, 1981, Walker County Jane Doe was buried at the Oakwood Cemetery. In 1999, her body was exhumed so that DNA sample can be taken. In recent years, her DNA and a DNA of her attacker that was collected from a bite mark on her body had been tested, but no matches have been made. As DNA is advancing, it seems like it's only a matter of time before Walker County Jane Doe and her attacker will be identified.